happened in the Medo-Persian Empire during the time of King Ahasuerus. In the 3rd year of his reign, he gave a banquet for all of his nobles and officials. For a full 180 days, he displayed the vast wealth of his kingdom and the splendor and glory of his majesty. When these days were over, the king gave a banquet lasting 7 days for all the people, from the least to the greatest, who were in the citadel of Shushan. Wine was served in goblets of gold, each one differing from the other, and the royal wine was abundant, in keeping with the king's liberality. By the king's command, each guest was allowed to drink wine in his own way, for the king instructed all the wine stewards to serve each man as much as he wished. Now Queen Vashti also gave a banquet for the women in the royal palace of the king. On the 7th day, when the king was in high spirits from wine, he commanded the 7 servants who served him to bring before him Queen Vashti, wearing her royal crown, in order to display her beauty to the people and nobles, for she was lovely to look at. But when the attendants delivered the king's command, Queen Vashti refused to come. Then the king became furious and burned with anger. He spoke with the 7 nobles of Persia and Media who had special access to the king and were highest in the kingdom. According to the law, what must be done to Queen Vashti, he asked. Then one of them replied in the presence of the king and the nobles,
"If the wives of Persia and Media hear a word of what's proceeding here, I think that it will cause them to rebel. They will look upon their husbands, will cause them to disgust them. I think for us it won't go very well. So the counsel I'm advising is to have no compromising. Find the queen of who she really is. And she lives at the king's pleasure,
So the king did as his advisors proposed. Later, when the anger of the king had subsided, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what he had decreed about her. Then the king's personal attendants proposed, "Let a search be made for beautiful young girls for the king. Let the king appoint commissioners in every province of his realm to bring all these beautiful girls into the harem. Then let the girl who pleases the king most be queen instead of Vashti." This advice appealed to the king, and he followed it. Now, there was in the citadel of Shushan a Jew of the tribe of Benjamin named Mordecai, who had been carried into exile from Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Mordecai had a cousin named Esther, whom he had brought up because she had neither father nor mother. When the king's order and edict had been proclaimed, many girls were brought to the citadel of Shushan and put under the care of Haggai. Esther was also taken to the king's palace. The girl pleased Haggai and won his favor, and he moved her and her maids to the best place in the harem. Now Esther had not revealed her nationality and family background because Mordecai had forbidden her to do so. Every day he walked back and forth near the courtyard of the harem to find out how Esther was and what was happening to her. Before a girl's turn to go into the king, she had to complete 12 months of beauty treatments prescribed for the women. When her turn came, each girl would go to the king's palace in the evening, and in the morning she would return to another part of the harem with the king's wives. She would not return to the king unless he was pleased with her and summoned her by name. The turn came for Esther to go to the king.
Still I wish it were not.
more than to any of the other women. So he set a royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. During the time Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, Bigthan and Teresh, two of the king's officers, became angry and conspired to assassinate the king. But Mordecai found out about the plot and reported it to the king. After these events, the king honored a man named Haman. All of the royal officials at the king's gate knelt down and paid honor to him, for the king had commanded this concerning Haman. Or pay him honor. The royal officials told Haman, that Mordecai would not kneel down or pay him honor because Mordecai was a Jew. Enraged, Haman scorned the idea of killing Mordecai alone, but sought instead to kill all Mordecai's people, the Jews. Then Haman and his advisors cast lots to determine the time when they would destroy all the Jews. Now the lot, which is like a pair of dice, was called in that language Purim. Then Haman said to the king, "There is a certain people dispersed and scattered in your kingdom. Their customs are different from those of all other people, and they do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, let a decree be issued to destroy them, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the royal treasury for the men who carry out this business." So the king took his signet ring off of his finger and gave it to Haman. pleased. So Haman wrote an edict and sealed it with the king's signet ring, so that it became law of the Medo-Persian nation, and it could not be changed. And the edict declared the month and the day when all of the Jews, young and old, women and children, would be destroyed. When Mordecai learned of what had been done, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the city, wailing loudly and bitterly. Esther summoned one of the king's servants assigned to attend her and ordered him to find out what was troubling Mordecai and why. Mordecai told him everything, and he told him to urge Esther to go into the king's presence to beg for mercy and plead with him for her people. The servant went back and reported to Esther what Mordecai had said. Then she instructed him to say to Mordecai, "For any man or woman who approaches the king without being summoned, the king has but one law, that he should be put to death. The only exception to this is for the king to extend the gold scepter to him and spare his life. But it has been 30 days since I was called in to go to the king." When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back this answer: "Do not think that because you are in the king's house, that you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at such a time as this, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to royal position for such a time as this?" this replied to Mordecai, "Go, gather together all the Jews who are in Shushan, and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day, and I and my maids will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." So Mordecai went away and carried out all of Esther's instructions. On the 3rd day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the palace, in front of the king's hall. The king was sitting on his royal throne in the hall, facing the entrance. When he saw Queen Esther standing in the court, he was pleased with her and held out to her the gold scepter that was in his hand. So Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. Then the king asked her, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? Even up to half of my kingdom it will be given to you." "If it pleases the king," replied Esther, "let the king, together with Haman, come today to the banquet that I have prepared for him. Bring him at once," the king said, "so that they do what the queen asks." So Esther and Haman went to the banquet Esther had prepared. As they were drinking wine, the king asked Esther, "What is your petition? It will be given to you. And what is your request? Even up to half the kingdom it will be given to you." Esther replied, "My petition and my request is this. If the king regards me with favor, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition and fulfill my request, let the king and Haman come tomorrow to the banquet that I have prepared for them. Then I will answer the king's question." Now Haman went out that day very happy and in high spirits. But when he saw Mordecai at the king's gate, he was filled with rage. Nevertheless, he restrained himself and went home. Calling together his friends and wife, Haman boasted to them about his vast wealth and his many sons, and all the ways the king had honored him. He added, "But all this gives me no pleasure, as long as I see that Jew, Mordecai, sitting at the king's gate." His wife and all his friends said to him, "Have a gallows built, and ask the king in the morning to have Mordecai hanged on it." Now this suggestion pleased Haman. He had the gallows built. Now that night, the king couldn't sleep. the king ordered the book of the Chronicles, the record of his reign, to be brought in and read to him. It was found there that Mordecai had exposed Bigthan and Teresh, who had conspired to assassinate the king. What honor and recognition has Mordecai received for this? The king asked. Nothing has been done for him, his attendants answered. The king said, Who's in the court? Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the palace to speak to the king about hanging Mordecai. His attendants answered, Haman. Is standing in the outer court. Bring him in, the king ordered. When he entered, the king asked him, What should be done for the man that the king delights to honor? Now Haman said, Who is there that the king would rather honor than me? So he answered, Have them bring a royal robe that the king has worn, and a horse that the king has ridden upon. Let them robe the man and lead him on the horse through the city streets, proclaiming before him, This is what is done for the man that the king delights to honor. Go at once, the king commanded Haman. And do just as you have suggested for Mordecai the Jew. So Haman got the robe and did as the king commanded. Afterward, he rushed home with his head covered in grief and told his wife and his friends everything that had happened to him. Advisors and wives said to him, Since Mordecai is of Jewish origin, you will surely come to ruin. While they were still talking, the king's servants arrived and hurried Haman. away to the banquet Esther had prepared for them. So the king and Haman Esther, and as they were drinking wine on the second day, the king asked again, Queen Esther, what is your petition? It will be given to you.